welcome to the Lillian McMorris Show. I'm Lillian McMorris, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have a very informative show. I'm going to start on the show that we'll have what is called our legal corner. And I have experts that will be coming in answering your questions. Generalized, please. We're going to find out some of the consequences for actions and send in any of your law-related questions. You can always send them to our website, LillianMcMorrisShow.com, and there's an area where you can write and an email will come and we will address that in a future show. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce to you who our host of our Legal Corner is, and that is Adrienne Lobo. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you for having me,
Thank you
Lillian.
so much for being with us. I appreciate you being with us. Now, Adrienne is a criminal defense attorney. And you want to tell us exactly what that is?
Yes. Well, I'm a public defender, actually. I work for the county, and that is somebody who defends somebody's rights. And I always like to tell people, because I'm so often mistaken for working for the district attorney's office,
Right.
that the best way to describe it is the public defender's office is what you hear in Miranda warnings. When you have the right to an attorney, you have the right to remain silent. If you can't afford an attorney will be appointed for you.
And you are the appointed one.
That is correct. So we are appointed counsel, and we represent clients that could not otherwise afford representation.
And let me ask you, a lot of things, with that being said, a lot of people think they're not getting quality representation, which we're going to dispel that myth.
Yes, and I think that, it's about time that that myth be dispelled. I think that there is, good and bad or not competent attorneys or competent attorneys in every group and category. So that generalization that I think that public defenders have fallen under for so long is far gone from what the truth really is.
Okay. And what is the hardest thing for you to do? Because you're meeting that client has been given to you not by choice. You've got to go over all these paperwork and defend that person. What's the hardest thing?
I think it is rapport building.
Okay.
Because you have to get that person to believe that you actually care about them and that this is not just another number, this is not just another case, that they're a real living, breathing human being that's sitting on the other side of the table, and you're meeting people at the worst time in their lives.
Correct.
And so you have to build that rapport and that trust. And a lot of clients who may have been in and out of the system, I like to call them our frequent flyers.
I like that one.
They might already have preconceived notions or have a bad experience with a prior public defender. So that's also
you have to prove
part
yourself as being different from perhaps the other experience that they may have had.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how do you do that? Because you and I have talked about this, and it's so difficult. You sit there for 4 hours and you're going through their folder and you're reading all of these things about them, and then you actually see that person.
I think, there's a variety of responses. When you are reading the folder, it's black and white, it's on paper, it's the state's allegations, it's the state side of the story, it's written by the police officers, and there wouldn't be a file to begin with if there wasn't already some sort of a bias or preconceived notion or some sort of investigation or whatever is propelling this case forward. There's something that's there that's behind it. But when you actually sit down and you meet with a client face to face like I'm doing, you realize that there's so much more to the person, that if they did make a mistake, it could be the victim of circumstance. It could be bad decision-making, variety of things.
Right, and that's one of the things that I think we talked about over dinner is the media trying a case in the media only given their part of the story, and then you get the full story from the police officer, from the victim, and from the person who's being accused.
Yes. And that is, I think something that has been missing. What we talked about over dinner is that I would often leave a courtroom where I'm watching colleagues try cases, people on my team, and would read the newspaper or...
Because you asked me, well, what do you think of this? And I gave you my opinion of it, and you said, that's totally wrong. And I said, but that's what I read.
Absolutely. And that is what the public is depending upon. And I think it's about time that they get the coverage that is the truth or both sides of the story, and that they have well-balanced information, or else it's not accurate, in my opinion.
True. Why do you feel that people should even care about what a public defender does?
I think because public defenders are really the, as cheesy as it may sound, the gatekeepers to justice.
Okay.
We protect people's rights. And not until it's actually real, where it's a family member, an uncle, a son, an aunt, somebody who comes into contact with the criminal justice system, whether it's their fault or not, or you really don't understand how valuable those rights are. And it's not just that person who's sitting on the other side of the table. It's really myself holding the state to that burden and making sure that the entire community's rights are protected.
The Lillian McMorris Show is brought to you in part by Louisiana Gumbo and More, located on West Charleston. The best gumbo, and don't forget the po' boys. That's Louisiana Gumbo and More on West Charleston. And welcome back to our Legal Corner. What do you specialize in?
So I currently work right now on the sexual assault team in our office. But prior to that, I worked on a general felony track that would handle everything from low-grade misdemeanors all the way up into everything except for sexual assault or murder. I was allowed to second chair those cases, but right now I'm on a team that only does cases where we have clients who are accused of either molesting a child or raping an adult woman or man, for that matter.
Okay. That's got to be very difficult for you as a woman.
Yeah, I think that it would be... It's hard to say that it doesn't affect you.
Right.
Absolutely.
How do you handle that?
That is something I think that when you're reading a file that for the first time, if it is something that is pretty gruesome, that you have to get your wits about you before you go and talk to that client. Because no matter if that client has done something that is heinous, or say it's the other end of the spectrum, that is maybe college kids and it's a date rape situation where too much alcohol is involved, whatever situation it is, I have to get my mind right before I go and
Once
see
you've
that
read
person.
what is there, you can't stick to
Absolutely.
what is there. You have to make sure you're open-minded enough to listen to their story.
Absolutely. And I have to be able to find the humanity, I think, in the person, that there has to be some humanity, some decency, and that I'm only hearing one side.
Okay.
And so keep that open mind.
Okay. I've got some questions for you. As we said, this was open for people to send in questions. How can you defend someone that you know is guilty?
Well,
That's one of the first questions we got.
yes, and it's the prime time question I get all the time. If I had a nickel for every time I was asked that question,
How do you do that?
I'd be a rich woman. But I think the way that I at least approach it in my practice and what I can talk about is I think of it as public defenders that we're trauma surgeons. That in the regard that people who have encounters with us are in the worst possible place in their life.
And you're meeting them at the worst possible time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that you have to go in there and you have to stop a bleed. You have to go in there and make sure that you take care of that person no matter what.
Okay.
And I think that the way doctors take a Hippocratic oath, no matter what, if some gangbanger rolls into the ER, they
still have to get that bullet out. Absolutely.
And that is the same kind of oath that an attorney takes. So it's from that point of view that I think I even start when you know that they're guilty. Now, knowing that they're guilty, I don't think that you can say 100% whether or not.
Because we weren't there.
Absolutely.
We're reading what someone else wrote.
Absolutely. The only people that probably know actually what happened and will ever know are the people that were there.
Involved.
Exactly. Unless, there's videotape, and that's a whole nother subject.
Okay.
But I think that it starts from the place that you really don't know, and there's another side, and that sometimes there are clients who are innocent, and then there's sometimes clients who are guilty. But you have to still do your very best.
I have a question for you, because you do your job, you read the information, you meet with that person. Let's say you do get them off, and you're in the grocery store or the mall, and you see that person. How do you react? Because see, this is, although we're a big city, we're a very small town.
Yes, absolutely. Here's what I guess, okay, so let's back up for a second.
Okay.
You said get them off. So I think that that's an interesting way to phrase it.
Okay.
So
You clear they're found innocent. They get to walk out free and clear.
So let's start with the premise that, because they're supposed to be presumed innocent,
that's right.
until the state meets their burden and a jury of their peers decides.
Correct.
Now, many cases don't go to trial. Many of them are resolved. Many of them are negotiated. Somebody takes a plea, and we're not even at a trial stage.
Okay.
But the hypothetical that you're talking about, I think what you're saying is where I know that they probably did do something.
Yes.
Or if they did do what they're charged, in fact, with, and I did get them acquitted.
Exactly.
That has happened
Right.
in my practice. And the way I like to phrase it to, people when they ask me is that it isn't my job to make sure that they are convicted. That's the state's failure.
It is your job to show the good side.
Well, show whatever the defense is and sometimes there's nothing for us to do. And other times the police have made mistakes. Other times the case is overcharged by the state. There's a variety of different ways that it could play out.
Okay.
But the client is still entitled to that.
Right. And that is what you do, is represent that client.
Absolutely.
Good. And we are talking in our legal corner, and we have several other questions, but we won't be able to get into them today. But Adrian will be visiting with us next month, and we will take your questions that you want to send in, and just use our website, LillianMcMorrisShow.com, and just put legal corner and what questions that you might have. But Adrian is a criminal defense attorney, and she's working from and I keep wanting to say the district attorney's office, but the public defender's office. And actually, that's one of the questions that came up, but we'll have to go into that next month, as the difference between, and you can cite your examples again for this person. But we want to thank you so much for joining us and watching the Lillian McMorris Show. But we're going to take a little break right now. The 11th annual Float Like a Duck water safety event on Saturday, May the 24th at Heinrich YMCA. Come out and bring the whole family. This is a fun family event. Take steps for Crohn's and colitis. This is a fun, family-friendly community walk. Saturday, May 31st. It's going to be at Exploration Park at Mountain's Edge. Don't miss the Parenting Expo on May the 31st at the Cashman Center. It's educational, it's informational, and it's a whole lot of fun. Bring the whole family. It's time for the 6th annual White Linen Affair, sponsored by 100 Black Men of Las Vegas. It's going to be on Saturday, June the 28th at the Suncoast Hotel. Get your tickets right away. We sell out. And welcome back. We have an absolutely wonderful person. She's visited with us before, and we always want to know what's going on up here. The choices you make, how do they influence the rest of your life? I'd like to read something. It's my life, my choice. This is something, though, that our Dr. Wendy wrote. It's dedicated to safe haven for wives, mothers, homemakers, and professional women who want to change their lives through intrinsic understanding of how to use the power of their personal, conscious choice. And that's what we're going to talk about, is choices. Please welcome Dr. Wendy Dearborn. Welcome back, Dr. Wendy.
Thank you, Lillian. It's really a pleasure to be here. And yes, I am all about the power of choices.
But what we don't understand about choices is when you're young. And a lot of times we make an uneducated choice, perhaps because we've been sheltered. And tell us a little bit about how you feel about that, parents and teachers and all of those things.
With minors or people under the age of majority, whichever country you're in, okay, we are definitely influenced by our parents, teachers, guardians, etc. And so therefore the choices that we make are influenced by their choices.
Right.
Okay. But once you reach the age of majority, you then, literally, they kind of boot you out and they say, you're 18, and it's like, well,
I have to
you
make
need
my
to
own
do that. You have to make
decisions
your
now.
own decisions.
Okay.
But by and large, Lillian, we're not taught as we grow up to make choices for ourselves. We are told we need to do this, you need to do that, you need
Right.
to do the other.
Right. You're given directives.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's it. And there's nothing wrong with directives, but sometimes as people raise their children, you need to allow them to have choice so that they can understand the true value of consequence.
Okay.
The true value, and not just the thing of, I didn't wash the dishes, so mama beat my butt. Okay? You know, but consequence.
Right,
I mean, real
real consequences
life
for your
consequences.
choice. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's really important. One of the things that I tell people often, every time I open my mouth actually, is that from your cradle to your grave, everything that you do, and I mean everything that you do, is predicated upon the choices that you make.
Okay.
Everything, including coming into being. If you read your Bible, you'll see where it was spoken of about you coming into being.
Correct.
And the choices that you would have to make.
So how do we tell our young people and make them believe about consequences? Because to every action is a reaction, and there's consequences for all actions.
That's correct.
So when you make that choice, there's a consequence.
One of the biggest things with the choice paradigm is that people, young people, all people actually need clarity.
Okay.
You need to have clarity. If you don't have clarity and you make a choice, you've made the choice, but you haven't bought into it. And so therefore many people are detached with the outcome, or they're shocked, like, wow, that happened
to me?
How did that happen?
See, I got it. I did like, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So people are detached.
Right.
So it's really important.
Not realizing that the choice they made caused that
Exactly.
action.
There's a detachment because they're not vested.
Okay.
And in order for young people to be vested, or people, period, to be vested in the choices that they make, it starts with the golden question, what are you wanting? And again, it's not what do you want, because
Right.
people always say, well, what do you want?
No,
You
no.
go to the grocery store, you go to get food. Well, what do you want? No. What are you wanting? It is an intrinsic question that takes people with
Let's give people a definitive difference. What do you want? What are you wanting?
Okay. What do you want? People start thinking about past experiences.
Okay.
You know, I've been in here before. They start thinking about past experience. What are you wanting? The ing takes you into the imagination.
Okay.
Okay? And it's a nuance on the words. Most women, like I lecture or I talk with the women at Shade Tree once a week. And that's something that they have all said. Nobody's ever asked me what am I wanting. They ask me what I want.
Right.
But nobody has ever really asked
Getting
me
in
what
there,
am I
getting
wanting?
you to think.
Irrespective of whether you have a mother, father, husband, child, children, dog, cat, none of that. Let's talk about you for the moment. And that's with kids also. This is why kids actually relate to me pretty well. I want to know what you're wanting. We're not talking about what your mama wants for you.
Right.
We're talking about what
you want.
Yes.
Wanting. Right. Okay.
And that's it. Clarity is key
Okay.
with at least owning your choices. The thing about that too is, Lillian, whether you recognize or have full conscious awareness of the choices that you are making, of course, as you said, you own it. You're accountable.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
The name of the game with that is that whether or not you are aware of this, you own your choices. Lock,
and the consequences
stock,
that goes with
that's it. Lock, stock, and barrel. So I figure...
So how do you make good choices? How do we tell people how to make good choices?
Again, Lillian, it comes down to clarity. And you have to start that dialogue with yourself. Most of us talk very negatively to ourselves. We the dialogue that we have going on inside, it's very negative. And most of us are never, as I call it, proactive in our conversation with self. We're always reacting to something that's
already happened, rather than if I do this right now, then this is going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where we need to be.
Right.
We need to be always thinking about where we are going. Now, where you've come from is important, but it's not as important as where you're going, because you've already done what you've done. And that's why you come to where you are now.
That's where you are now, right. That's why that consequence is there.
Exactly. Okay. So it's about moving forward.
So the best thing we can do is tell our young people, basically it comes down to think before you act.
Yes, and think with clarity, with with the proviso in there of, what are you wanting? Okay, so your friends are out, they're drinking, they're doing this, or this guy hits on you and he wants that, and he wants that. Before you do anything, ask yourself truly, what am I wanting for me in this moment? Not, what will my mama say?
Right.
Not, is it going to feel good?
Right.
What if we have no, what am I wanting for me in
Meaning, what
this
is this
moment?
going to take me in the future?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
It's a powerful question.
It is a powerful question. Once you put that
powerful
ing on there,
That's
thinking,
it.
yeah,
That's it.
wanting,
That's
doing.
it. That's
yes.
it. That's it.
Yes.
It's always forward momentum.
Forward thinking.
Because our history is that. Our destiny is where the future is. And we get to our destiny through our choices. Not through our history, but through our choices.
And what is your response with the ladies at Shade Tree when you do get them to thinking about their choices?
Again, as I said, for the most part, a lot of the women share with me, they've never been asked this before. But when they get it, that they have a choice in their life, that I can actually make a choice, whether or not I get beat, or whether or not I remain homeless. I see light bulbs go on. And
what am I wanting?
Yes, and I see women who are making choices for themselves. Like, the number one thing for everybody is in there, and I usually say, how many people want to get out, leave here, you don't want to be here? Feet go up, hands go up, the whole 9 yards. Well, how many of you really have a plan?
Right.
Oh, no, I'm going to get a job.
goes.
I'm going to get a job.
Right. And choices is your next step. I'm going to get a job, but how are you going to get the job?
Exactly.
Right.
And what sort of job do you actually want?
Right. Or qualify for that matter.
Exactly.
We're talking about choices today. Dr. Wendy Dearborn, and you can go to her website and find out a little bit more, because always remember, it is your choice. But think ahead. What are you wanting to happen? And that is www.itsmylifemychoice.com. It's mylifemychoice.com. So Dr. Wendy Dearborn, may I give a phone number for me to call you as well? Area code 702-425-8589. That's 702-425-8589. And you do personal life coaching services.
Yes, I do.
You also speak lectures, etc.
Yes, I do.
So you can always get Dr. Wendy Dearborn to come and speak to you, come and speak to your group, and find out about the best choices that you can make in your life. The Lillian McMorris Show is produced by Tego and Associates Productions. Multi-camera shoots either in our studio or on location. That's Tego and Associates Productions. Give us a call at 702-509-7728. Hi, and welcome back. We're so happy to have you still joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed the segments before. We gave out a lot of information, and you can go on our website and find out more if you do have general questions about the law, because our law professional is always going to be here to answer those questions. But I'd like to welcome back a very, very special lady in our community, Monica Ford. Welcome back, Monica.
Well, I'm so pleased to be here. How are you, Lillian?
I'm so giddy to be here.
I know, it's wonderful. Anytime I can spend time with you is a wonderful day.
Oh, you're
thank
sweet.
You so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your position at Nevada Partners.
Well, I am fortunate to be the CEO of Nevada Partners, which really is about community partnerships.
And see, and that is what Lillian is about.
Yes,
is
absolutely.
community partnerships. And that's why I want to say thank you for becoming one of our partners with the Lillian McMorris Show, one of our sponsors of the show, and we certainly do appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. Like I said, this is really about community partnerships, and all that you do for our community is why it was so important for us to make sure that we made that connection and that partnership to get the information out there, because we know that's what you're all about.
That's
Lillian.
right. And speaking of information, what are some, because over the next few weeks, we're going to highlight several departments, several programs, several community events, several things that our community needs to know that they can come to the Vet Partners and find out about. Give me just some brief highlights.
So coming up, first I want to say again, welcome and thank you so much for agreeing to come on Nevada Partners Live and really having all of your showcases here in the community so that it is accessible to individuals. So we know that it's on COX 96 and all those things, but to have you here on campus means so much. We're going to be able to talk about all of the different services that our organization and others provide.
Absolutely.
So for Nevada Partners, it's about our adult program and the services that we provide to the adults. So getting people back to work.
Right.
And then our youth department, where we have individuals who maybe need to be reconnected, or talking a little bit, I know we talked before about our graduate advocate initiative program, where we're in the schools, but really being able to tell the parents about the services that are in the schools for our youth.
Because they don't, a lot of parents now are so disconnected when it comes to their students and what their students are doing, whether it be because of economics that they have to work, or their family is kind of fragmented. So the student is on their own. But sometimes when you're listening to the radio or someone tells you, let's go up to Nevada Partners and blah, 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 then you find out that, wow, they got programs.
Yes. So housing, we have our down payment assistance program. So we can talk about all of those different things, and we've got some great initiatives on board. And then one of the other things that is going to be happening in the next coming weeks is the Culinary Academy of Las Vegas, which is on our campus. I believe the CEO will be.
He's going to be with us.
He's going to be on, and then you'll be able to learn about some of the programs here. So we have so many different classifications that we train for right here on campus. And even though people know about it, they really need to understand what happens here and what I call it the magic, how the magic happens.
Well, I'm excited to be here and be a part of the magic. And Monica, we want to say thank you, and of course to all your cohorts, because no one is alone. We're not an island. We work as a team. And community is family, friends, teamwork, all of that stuff. And I believe in that. And I thank you for allowing us to come on and occupy the space and have people in the community come and actually see the show if they choose to do so. And I also want to thank, KCEP, because they blasted all week that we're going to be here on the Nevada Partners campus. And to me, it's just exciting. It's enlightening, and I appreciate it. I say thank you.